I'm still yours. Wow, wow, no, no, no. Faithfully, Godfather's still mine. Woo! I wish for one day I could sing like Steve Perry. All right, Rip City Drive, what's going on, my friends? Dwight and Chad with you for a Thursday adventure. I guarantee a lot of shenanigans, a lot of hijinks, a lot of nonsense going on, but good news. Ben Golliver, Benny G, going to stop by at 420. He has been able to get a first-person account, a good view of Cooper Flagg, which is our number one desire now.
Yeah, I think Ben's turning into our Cooper Flagg correspondent, which is really cool because he knows players. He's been around a while.
Don't you wish you could sing like Steve Perry, Godfather?
No.
Just once?
No.
Why not?
No. No, I'd rather be able to play the guitar like Joe Walsh. Yeah.
Peter Frampton.
Yeah. See, you can learn how to play the guitar. Never as good as those guys, but you can learn. You cannot learn how to sing. You either have it or you don't.
Have you gotten your Foo Fighter tickets yet?
Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
You got to figure out a way, and this is going to take crafty, but you're smart and you're cagey now at a later stage in your life.
That's debatable, but go ahead.
You need to find a way to convince your wife that she wants to go to the concert, and before you know it, she's buying you and her tickets to go to the show. You got to figure out a way to pull that one off, Godfather.
I'd rather figure out a way to get free tickets, to tell you the truth, but so far that hasn't worked very well. Oh, man. If I miss that concert, I'm going to be... in fact, I won't miss it because if I can't get a ticket, I'll just go stand outside on 18th and listen to it from outside the gates. It's an outdoor concert.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I've done that before. I think I told you, Dave Koz and Michael McDonald were down there, and I thought, well, I don't have tickets. Screw it. I'll just go park and stand on 18th. Shine, sweet freedom, shine your light on me. And I was right there. I was in the show, but I wasn't paying for the show.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good out there, doesn't it? I mean, you get the full sound, don't you?
Forget, we're not in love anymore. The whole thing.
That's enough singing.
I got it, man.
Yeah.
It was awesome. What's up with you today, dude? What's cracking over there, Godfather? What's up in your world?
I'm just enjoying myself, Chad. It's going to be a fun day in here. Lots of hijinks, shenanigans, whatever you want to call it.
Look what I brought in.
What?
I brought in a crumb bag of pretzels because you accused me of stealing your pretzels yesterday. But you also brought in a full bag, so we got plenty of pretzels for the show.
Yeah, so stick to your own bag, okay?
The Schneider's Jalapeno Ranch pretzels are delicious, delightful.
Can't be beat.
They cannot be beat.
No. Jalapeno Ranch.
All right, I want to give you an update real quick because I know you were curious about this.
All right.
So, just a lot of stuff going on this week. I had a long meeting that cut into my golf game.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of you before shows this week.
Yes, it's been too much going on. And then today, my boy Luke, he had to change workout days, and so all I know is that this morning I had to drive into town earlier to go work out.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that when you have to drive into town early, I try to avoid it now like the plague because traffic is a disaster. I have no idea what was going on I-5 this morning. There was no wreck that I could see on the map on the traffic guide, but I got up, and the first thing I did when I woke up to my alarm was check the traffic, and right away I was like, oh, crapola.
Yeah.
And then I remembered, like, I took a shower the night before. So I ran my head under the sink. I did a makeshift job on my hair.
Minute. You put your head under the sink?
To get my hair wet.
Yeah.
I know you don't have this issue, but I do.
Well, your head is big, though. How do you get it under the faucet? You got room there to do that?
Very carefully. I do have a big dome, and it's misshapen, too. So I got it under there. I got it wet. I got dressed real quick and got on the road. And Waze, I don't even know what I did before I had technology because it took me on a journey today to get to my workout on time. So I started out from North Vancouver, I-5, exit off on 78th, go down Highway 99, all the way up Main Street, take a left on 39th, take a right on F Street down to the I-5 entrance on 4th Plain.
Yeah.
Cross the bridge, exit off there at Delta Park, go straight up into North Portland, up Denver, take a right on Rosa Parks, take a left on whatever street that was, go down to Killingsworth, take a right, take a left on Greeley, go down and enter the freeway off Greeley. And somehow I made it just in the nick of time because the problem was today, Luke was on a tight schedule. So if we were both going to get our workout in, it had to be very snappy.
So you work him out and he works you out.
That
right?
is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. So it was just total shenanigans with the traffic. And so, of course, what was I trying to say? Oh, yeah. So yesterday we had Body 20 come in studio.
Yes.
Caitlin and Jacob, and they put me through the workout with the vest and the stimulation they apply. Never had a workout like that. And I just did some arm activity. And I was curious to see what type of an impact that would have on my workout today with Luke. Full body, high intensity, super slow. Well, everything was fine until I got to one particular exercise. And then all of a sudden, my triceps were just done, tilt, like the old pinball machine. And that was because of what I did with the stimulation with Body 20.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give you an update on that because that's how that went down.
How close did you come to your usual max effort today?
It was about I was about 75% of my normal, so it took it cut off about 25%.
That's more than I thought you'd get. That's pretty good actually, because you were in looked like you were in pain. I'm sure you weren't in pain, but you couldn't.
There was some exertion going on.
Yeah, you couldn't do much more than what you did, right?
Yeah, I had the well, I guess like bitter beer face, like the old Keystone commercials.
You did,
or the Pepto-Bismol commercials.
Yeah.
That whole type of deal. It was tough, and so I'm very curious to see how I'm going to feel when I show up at the golf course tomorrow morning. Could be a little bit stiff.
You'll be okay.
Yeah. The warm, though. It's going to be warm, so the body will heat up and warm up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We do have an update. Justin Myers is going to be on the road here in a couple of weeks. He's going out to Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium to cover Big Ten Media Day. And on the day that he's going to be there, it's Oregon and Washington. Of course, Justin he's a self-proclaimed duck honk, so he'll be there for the Ducks. Obviously, the Huskies. I think the other schools that'll be there, Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana, and Maryland. So those schools will be on hand when Justin is there. And we've got the update on the crew that's going to be rolling in for the Ducks. Obviously, Dan Lanning, but their players, quarterback Dylan Gabriel. They got Jeffrey Bassa and also Terrence Ferguson. So some good players who are going to show up and represent the Ducks. And I'm excited about this for myself because I'm a huge Dylan Gabriel fan. Former Oklahoma Sooner, played there for 2 years. He was terrific. I'm stunned that the Ducks were able to make a transition from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel. I don't think it can go much better for that. It's not too often you can lose a quarterback of that caliber in Bo Nix and then find a guy that can step in right away with his experience and be able to keep you on track to compete for a national championship. But that's exactly what they got. And I think at Media Day, Duck fans are really going to be able to gauge and get an idea of what he's about. And if you remember when we talked to Alex Brink last week, remember how blown away he was with Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah. Oh, very
when he was
impressed.
working with the quarterbacks?
Very impressed by him.
That's high praise. And Alex Brink is not one to just pour on praise on someone unless it's truly deserved, right?
No, he was very excited about him. You could tell by his demeanor. He was very pumped up.
Don't you think this college football season is going to be interesting and fun from the standpoint that, one, we've got the realignment, so we're going to see Oregon in a totally different conference going up against different competition.
Right.
And we're going to see a lot of big games. If you've looked at the schedule, a lot of big games on the slate across the country, which is awesome. But then also this new element of college playoff expansion, knowing that more teams have access. You don't have to go undefeated anymore. And I can't wait to see how that plays out. And we're finally going to get this expansion and see what a real, true playoff type format with multiple teams is going to look like.
Yeah. It's going to be, that part is going to be so great.
Godfather, I've been waiting for this my whole life.
Yeah. Well, you and me both. My life's a little longer than yours, too.
Yeah. I was probably 9 or 10 years old, somewhere in that area when I really started getting into Oklahoma football. And all of my life, they've been talking about a playoff, talking about a way to get the best teams to match up so we can have a true national championship determined on the field. And they've slowly worked along. We got the BCS national championship, then we got the 14 playoff, and now we've got this expansion. I can't wait to see it. And I think it's great because Oregon, we're going to have a local team that's going to be in the mix the entire way through.
It's going to be very exciting. People are waiting. The Big Ten people are very excited about watching the Pac-12 teams fail getting into that league. They're really predicting doom. You're not going to see that out of the Ducks.
No, the Ducks are.
They're going head to head with all these teams.
You're really impressed with the work that Dan Lanning has done so far, aren't you?
He's been sensational, no question. Now, to be fair to previous coaches, he's got a lot more to work with. The whole NIL thing has been a boon to the Ducks. Been perfect for them. Really has.
I mean, everyone I've talked to, I mean, it's amazing that you have a guy like Phil Knight operating with no cap.
Yeah.
No cap. That means they can offer up whatever they want to get the job done.
Yeah, blank check.
And there aren't too many schools that can compete with that type of resource.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say, Justin's going to, now you can ignore this because you're not going to be there, but Justin, you're going to be in Indianapolis. Get on your phone now, like tonight. Call a place called St. Elmo's. It is world famous among athletes of all sports. Get your dinner reservation there. Order the shrimp cocktail, followed by a nice steak, and you'll thank me later.
I think he can handle that.
Yeah,
that sounds like something he'll do. I called him today to talk about a couple of details with the trip, and he's like, I'm like, are you busy right now? Because there was a bunch of commotion going on in the background.
Yeah. I'm shocked.
Yeah. He's like, I'm at the airport right now. I board in 15 minutes.
Oh, he's going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was going on a camping trip, but that's because I looked at my calendar and I had put in something for me and something for him. And I was like, you're going camping, right? He's like, no, I'm going to Hawaii. I'm like, screw you, man. That's where he's headed. Is it Kauai?
I can't remember what he said. He was talking about it on the air, though.
Is that one of the islands, Kauai?
Yeah, Kauai.
Yeah, Kauai. That's where he's going.
Yeah.
Yep. Kauai.
Well, what can you say?
Hawaii with a K.
I prefer Maui to that, but that's just because the restaurants in Maui are better. But.
Yeah, I really don't. Everyone always gets particular about the island they go to.
It's all good, right?
Yeah. It's like, come on now.
The one thing I would say is like Honolulu, Oahu now is overrun with tourists. It's really better to go someplace that's a little bit quieter.
Yeah, well, I've been there and I like it there too.
Do you?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome, and the weather's great, and you can sleep on the little chair next to the pool at 3 a.m. That's how nice it is. I did. I fell asleep 3 a.m. by the pool, and I woke up. It was like 6 a.m. with the sun coming up. I was like, this is perfect.
I'll tell you what. There's nothing like those islands, the way they smell, that tropical smell, just the warmth all day long, all night, really. Never too hot, just perfect all the time. It's a great place to be, really is.
First time I went to Hawaii, that was the first time I was exposed to the aggressive street worker.
Oh, God.
Had no idea what was going on there. I was just sitting on a bench watching people go by.
Yeah.
And all these ladies were rolling up like, hey, baby, you need a date?
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't know what was going on. And I was like,
this is Honolulu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I
was like, why are these girls interested in me? I'm like, I realize I'm fairly attractive, but what's going on here?
You realize maybe in Hawaii you're just better looking than you are on the continental U.S.
Then I talked to a couple of guys. I was like, oh, that's why they're interested.
Yeah. Interesting. They were doing business.
They were communicating.
Yeah.
Young Chad.
I thought you were
blown away.
I thought you were talking about food carts or something when you said street workers. I thought, oh, they're selling you flags or hats or something like that. No, they're selling something else.
Yep. Churros and tacos.
There's some good music right there.
This is what I heard. I heard this song from 18th Street up there when I went to go listen to the free concert put on by Dave Koz and Michael McDonald.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
It's such a great song.
It is.
Templeton wrote this. Rod Templeton wrote this song, and Michael performed it.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Just the way he sounds is so amazing.
Yeah.
This is from the movie Running Scared with Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. Off the soundtrack from Running Scared. It's right where we are. I'm not going to do it, man. I'm going to show restraint here. Shine your light on me. I love the horns in the song, too.
I think we need to record a theme song for our show.
And then have Michael record it.
Well, yes.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here. Benny Golliver. Benny Golliver.
Benny G, you call him. Come on. Let's get this straight.
Benny G is coming up at 4:20.
Benny Golliver.
I don't think you'd appreciate that. Now, is that Benny with an IE or Benny with a Y?
Oh, it's got to be Y.
All right, I hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon. Here, Godfather, we were talking the other day about the home run derby. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And how it's kind of turned into the NBA dunk contest where it's jumped the shark, right? We've seen it. There's nothing that they can do to show us something different that we haven't seen before. Like, I've just lost interest in it. So, find out today that there are two guys who are not participating. Who are those guys that will not be in the home run derby?
The two guys you'd most like to see in it.
Yeah. Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. They're not in it.
Yeah,
They're the two best guys by far.
I'm out. Right there. Because stars or star power is what drives me to those type of events. In fact, you mentioned it back in the day when I started watching the dunk contest. It's like no one was afraid to participate. They all jumped in.
Yeah.
But it's like, give me the stars. Like right now, there are a few players that I want to see. I can't think of anybody else I'd rather see at the plate than Judge or Ohtani because Judge, as you mentioned, he gets better contact than anyone, hard contact. He's a lumberjack, and then Ohtani's just a freak.
Well, and those two guys, I don't care even how many home runs they hit. I just want to see how far they hit.
Yeah.
That's the big deal for me. Yeah, and however they judge it, you ought to get the most points, or at least some points, for the longest one anybody hits. And they can measure all that stuff now. Why not do that?
That's really what it is, isn't it? Hitting a home run is not a big deal. Yeah. But watching a guy mash one 550 feet, that's a different ballgame.
Those majestic ones that go so high and so far are unbelievable. It's breathtaking, really is. To see somebody hit a baseball that far. The Mark McGwire one in the Kingdome off Randy Johnson, that's inside, but still, to sit and watch that home run ball, you can look at it on YouTube. It's there. Incredible. Just incredible.
It is one of the greatest home runs I've ever seen. It's one of the longest home runs of all time. And it's just, well, it's a thing of beauty is what it is. It's
yeah. Yeah.
The 3-2 pitch to McGwire. Swing and a high fly ball belted. And I mean belted deep to left field into the upper deck. My, oh my. What a shot by McGwire. That is probably the longest home run ever hit here. I mean, it almost got to the back wall. It will be interesting to see how far that ball is guesstimated. Unbelievable shot by McGwire. We have often wondered if McGwire got a hold of a Randy Johnson fastball, how far he could hit it, and I think we just saw it. What a shot by Mark McGwire.
Dave, that ball flew over the clock into the upper deck up there in left center field, over the clock, and that had to land at least 12 rows back, and they
538 feet. Unbelievable.
Man, and just to hear Niehaus go that crazy over something a guy on the other team did is amazing.
It is truly awesome.
534 feet. I don't think, no, I know. I've never seen one go that far.
The other thing that's terrific about that is Randy Johnson tipping his cap to McGwire as he was circling the bases.
Yeah.
He respected it. That was my best against your best, and you got me. I love that.
And you know what? McGwire had the good sense to just run around the bases with his head down.
Yeah.
Not make a big show, or he'd be wearing a fastball the next time up.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. This one here was floating around on X the other day, and I love this.
Now Barry Bonds comes up. Let's listen in.
Number 25, Barry Bonds, designated hitter. Number 25.
Bonds at slightly open stance, feet fairly close together, crowding the plate. The pitch. There's a long one to right field. Forget about it. This one is headed for New Jersey. High into the upper deck. Barry Bonds with a spectacular 3-run homer. And he has electrified Yankee Stadium. 3-0 Giants.
How awesome is that? That's what I want. I want guys that can mash it so far you're just like, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
This one, too, was, well, it's freaking awesome.
That one is hit a mile. A majestic shot to the top of the bleachers out there. Wow.
Number 37 for Piazza. And that one may be as long as he's ever hit one.
Mike Piazza hitting one out of Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. That's what I want to see. Ohtani and Judge trying to do stuff like that.
Yeah, that's like a home run hitting contest at the Portland Beaver game when Willie Stargell hit it into the balcony of the Multnomah Athletic Club.
Yeah.
It's like nobody could believe it went there.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And this is the old balcony, not the new one that they built several years ago. This is the old one. And somebody caught it, as I recall. We went back at the Oregonian and got some expert to figure out how far that one went. And I think it was probably 527, something like that. It just seemed to hang in the air forever. I mean, you could have called a fair catch under it. It was amazing.
Here's another one.
Last year, he walked 160 times, struck out 155, and he's done it again. And let's see where that goes. It hit the top of the roof. Whoa! Wilver Stargell hit 2 out, and McGuire's ball hit the edge of the roof and came back into the seats.
Mark McGuire smashing one at Dodger Stadium.
And what I respect about Vince Scully, he doesn't need the home run call that he does on every single home run. He'll call it the way it is. It drives me crazy. These guys have this call that they use for home runs, and they think they have to say it for every single, it is high, it is far, the John Sterling one, even on balls that aren't high and far. It drives me crazy.
You don't like shtick, do you?
No. It's like Jack Buck was great. And that's a home run. He would say that quite often. And that's a home run. Or he might just say, and we'll see ya tomorrow.
So you don't like the
Pre-prepared.
So you're not a fan of John Sterling?
Cliche. No, I never was.
Huh.
Even back when he was doing the Braves games, I wasn't a fan.
Well, basically, whatever Vin did is better than what anyone else did. He's the best. He would always mix it up. But I like shtick, too. Like, I like John Sterling.
Do you?
Yeah. It doesn't bother me.
Hmm.
I mean, he's not Vin Scully, but he's good. But I like a lot of those guys. I love John Miller, too.
Yankees win.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind, too, if you're a team broadcaster compared to a network broadcaster,
I
there's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Buck's calls for the Cardinal games were a little bit different than his national broadcast, too.
Yeah, but those were the days when guys tried to keep it somewhat. They were conscious of being called homers.
Yeah.
The real pros didn't want to be called homers.
Well, those days are long gone now.
Yeah, for sure. That's for darn sure.
Right? I mean, most of the guys now try to be homers, or I should say that their team probably wants them to be homers, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're told to do that, I'm sure.
So what's the moral of this story? Yeah, the home run derby, if you're not going to have Ohtani and Judge, I'm out, man.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, what did you equated it to a movie.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like, hey, we're going to make another Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy's not going to be
Yeah.
here. Okay, well, I'm not watching it then.
Yeah.
How's that for your idea there, you moron? It's like when they did that Dumb and Dumberer, and when they no Jim Carrey or Jeff Daniels. I'm not watching.
No.
You morons. It's like Jim Carrey is the reason why I tuned in the first place. And now you're doing one for what? With no Carrey? Like, what was the idea? Naked Gun without Leslie Nielsen? I ran that one by my dad. He's like, that's ridiculous.
It's impossible. You couldn't even do it.
That's because there are some guys that can just do things that other people can't. There's only one Leslie Nielsen. He was a unique unto itself. He's a guy that would bring that fart machine onto talk shows.
That was the greatest thing ever. Come on, play one of those. You got to have one of those in YouTube. I know because
I'll
I've
save
watched
it for a little bit later in the show.
Yeah, with Letterman. The one he did with Letterman was just classic.
Yeah, he had the. Didn't you buy the fart machine?
Yeah, it was
that he
a
had?
little rubber thing. And Dave played along with it for a while. I mean, he kind of went with it,
But the great part is he's on national network TV.
Yeah.
David Letterman's interviewing him, and he's using this little fart gadget to make fart sounds, and he's deadpanning it. Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear anything. What's the problem? Who does that?
I don't know. But you talk about this guy was born to be a comic, Leslie Nielsen. And when AI gets good enough, create more Leslie Nielsen Naked Gun Police Squad movies.
I didn't think about that. Could they use AI to recreate a movie with someone's likeness?
I would think they could.
That's
Don't you think?
creepy. That's amazing. I know that they're using Al Michaels' AI voice for these Olympic recaps coming up in Paris, but I haven't thought about that with a movie or whatever. That'd be wild.
Yeah. Well, they can do people's voices. It's probably the next step to do, like they're doing holograms of people now that are dead. I would think at some point you'd be able to do that in a movie. Would that be great? Humphrey Bogart, film noir.
But seriously, if I see a guy on network TV using a fart gadget to just crack up the host, right away I'm like, that's my type of guy.
Yeah.
We need to hang out with that guy.
Especially doing it so deadpan.
Do you think Leslie's like a Jim Carrey type where don't you think it'd be difficult for him to have an extended, like, serious conversation about anything?
Oh, yeah. But, the amazing thing about Leslie Nielsen is how long it took anybody, including him, I guess, to realize he was such a great straight-faced comedian.
Well, I saw him in Tales from the Crypt, which was a real creepy, scary show where he played like this. Ted Danson was in the episode he was in, and he was like Danson was having an affair with his wife, and so Nielsen had this whole deal where he was going to kill him on the beach, drown him to death. And he played a scary role, and he pulled it off perfectly, but that showed his range. He could do anything.
Chatty spent decades playing straight roles, dramatic roles.
And all of a sudden, he's like, I'm a comedian.
Yeah. And that's why I believed him so much when he gets on, because he doesn't crack a smile. And it's like he's doing his acting thing, but it's funny as hell.
Gosh, it's amazing how some of those shows, those creepy shows that I saw back in the day, I can remember the episodes, and they still creep me out.
Yeah.
Stephen King has a demented mind. He came up with some scary stuff that still sticks with me today.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Stephen. Man, unbelievable. How crazy do you have to be to come up with those guys' ideas?
Yeah. Did you ever get a chance to watch old episodes of The Twilight Zone?
Oh, I watch it all the time.
Yeah. That's pretty creepy stuff sometimes.
What is the host, the name that would
Rod Serling.
Yeah, he died at like 50 or something from like cancer.
Yeah.
I think it was a smoker.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah, The Twilight Zone. I watched that and Alfred Hitchcock. They show that on the old stations.
Yeah.
That I get piped into my room through the digital satellite.
There used to be one called One Step Beyond that was also kind of creepy.
My dad was a big fan of all those shows when he was younger.
Uh-huh.
But The Twilight Zone had the creepy music too. And you knew what was coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all that. All right, I want to play something for you and get your take on the theory and see if you think it's sound or not.
All right.
And this comes from a guy's handle, the Belligerent Beeves.
Yeah. Beavers are belligerent, by the way.
Yes. So I want to get your take on what this guy had to say in regards to the Big 12, and did they strategically delay inviting Oregon State and Washington State for financial gain? This is a short clip, but this is their idea. Take a listen.
I think it's possible that the Big 12 said to Oregon State and Washington State, we don't want you now. We want you 2 years from now.
Well, why?
Why? Because they knew if they accepted Oregon State and Washington State now, what would happen? The Pac-12 would have to formally dissolve, and everyone would get 1/12 of the remaining assets.
But we have it now.
We have it now. So by saying no to Oregon State and Washington State, you put them in position to win that lawsuit and seize control of the remaining of the Pac-12 assets.
So what are they waiting for?
Legally, because Oregon State and Washington State have to make a good faith effort at rebuilding the Pac-12 with the remaining assets. You can't just take everything and then the next day. I think
so
that would be a problem.
There was under the table handshake
with joining them out west.
It's already.
But so. I'm not saying it is, but this could
you heard
be
it here
because
first. Terry's guaranteed.
Because the Big 12 would be like,
Bees,
we could take
Cougs,
Oregon State, Washington
Big
State
12.
with whatever brand value, whatever assets they have, or we could kick this can down the road, give Oregon State, Washington State the chance to seize control of the conference or win control of the conference in court, which they will because that's a laugher of a lawsuit. And then 2 years from now, after attempts to rebuild the conference don't work out, we acquire Oregon State and Washington State, but with $250 million and change more than we would have gotten them a couple of years ago.
What's your take on that? Is that possible?
I don't know who this guy is and whether he has information, but he sounds like it's just a theory, but I think it is possible. And it's funny, Chad, because when I heard it, the first thing I thought of, the attitude some of these people at Oregon State and Washington State have is that they know something we don't know, and that they're a lot more comfortable and confident of their future than they're saying.
Yeah, because we
don't
look
you
at
get
it like,
that feeling?
Yes, because we look at it like you guys are completely screwed.
You're screwed. Yeah, we all think that, but they don't act that way at all. They're still very comfortable where they are. They're looking forward to 2 years doing what they do. But if they've got that waiting for them, we'll just ride it out for a couple of years and then we'll be fine. And there's also that rumor right now the Big 12 is going to take in Florida State and Clemson. I saw that today, too.
Interesting.
All of a sudden, that's a pretty good league.
All of a sudden, you get Washington State, Oregon State, Florida State, Clemson. They become a super conference.
You can play some football in that league.
All right, when we come back, there was an interesting question that was posed at Pac-2 Media Day or Pac-12 Media Day or whatever they're calling that now.
Yeah, right.
We'll share with you next. Get your thoughts.
The Rip City Drive, brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Here on 620 Rip City Radio, an iHeart radio station, the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics.
Well, Michael Shacker is all over the Biden press conference today, so he's going to give us updates in our ears. Did you say he's late to the presser, Shacker?
Yeah, they've been advertising it all day. 3:30. We're almost 4 o'clock. It hasn't even started yet. Not looking good.
Maybe that's just presidential time. If you're the president, you can show up whenever you want, I guess.
That's right.
That'd be one of the benefits of the job. It's like, dude, I'm the president. I need 15 more minutes. Sorry.
Do you think LeBron James would take the job if Joe decides not to take it any further?
Of course he would. There's nothing he would not do to get more attention.
But he wouldn't be the king then.
Yeah, he would.
He would act like the king.
He would still put on the fake crown.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, inauguration day, he would step up to put his hand on the Bible, and he'd don the crown. You know how that works, man. He can't resist a Godfather. Enough LeBron talk. I don't want your demeanor to change, because every time we talk LeBron, I can tell you can only take, just like me, we have limits.
Yeah, exactly.
A LeBron limit.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Mine must be a little shorter than yours.
I'm just fascinated by the whole thing.
Oh, yeah?
The coverage, the hype machine.
Yeah.
The clutch hype machine that's trying to chip away at MJ's career, like somehow we're going to buy into that. Like the whole thing, I'm just like, what are you guys doing? What's up with that? I don't know. It's weird to me. Really weird. But most importantly, I just feel bad for Bronny, because he's the one that's going to end up suffering in all of this.
Yeah, it's one thing to be that guy that LeBron is. It's another thing to bring your child into it.
That is a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Chad, you're kind of a goofy guy, but your kids are pretty normal kids, nice kids, calm. You know, they're not a lot like you, really.
I just don't want them to be like me.
Yeah.
I figure if they're not like me, that's a good thing.
That's the smartest thing you ever did.
Yeah, I know. It's like, hey, just don't be like me, and we're all going to be good here. I want to run this by you. Brenna Green, she put out a tweet from Pac-12 Media Day that I thought was interesting. Former Coug Ron Stone just asked an incredible question at the Pac-12 after-hours event that stumped both head coaches. What should the name of the OSU-WSU rivalry be? And she wants to know what your thoughts are. And I had never thought about that, but you got any ideas on that? We got a couple of replies here. The Civil Cup Apple War, duh. The world's best kegger. The anti-rivalry. The Pac-12 championship.
Well, yeah.
2 mules for Sister Sarah. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. The Pac-2 non-trader bowl. The Columbia River Reckoning, the Cascade Confrontation, Family Feud, or we just keep calling it the Pac-12 Championship, After Dark Rivalry, winner keeps the Pac-12 trophy for the year. It's too much.
I would call it the Leftover Bowl or the Orphan Bowl.
Snake River Showdown, Battle of the Columbia Basin, Columbia River Clash, or Little Brother Bowl.
Oh, God.
But maybe you're right. You know, the point you made a while ago about both schools acting as if we're the fools, right? Like they're a lot more confident, and they appear to be a lot more calm and confident in their standing than what you would expect for two schools that would appear on paper to be screwed.
Yeah, and they should. I would say that's probably the way you have to act, even if you don't know what's going to happen in the future. But they both strike me as schools that kind of have they have a plan. They know where they're going. They just can't say anything about it yet. Because they're way too confident and not as desperate as I thought they might be.
Do you think it's more likely that they have a plan of how things are going to go, or that they have no plan whatsoever and they're searching?
I think that even if this thing we talked about today, even if that's not true, that they do have some sort of plan. I think the Big 12 is their master plan for the future. whether they've been told that they're in or whether they're just going to try and get in. But, if indeed Florida State and Clemson join that conference, they'll be in the picture. That'll be okay. It's not the Big Ten or the SEC, but it would qualify as the third member, I think, of the Power Three.
Yeah, if you get Clemson and Florida State, and then you get Oregon State and Washington State, and you've got schools like Arizona State, Oklahoma State,
Utah.
Yeah, all of a sudden you've got the makings of a pretty good conference.
Yeah, and then the ACC in football would be hurting. They'd be hurting.
No question about it. And I guess look, no one's going to match the SEC or the Big Ten because of their TV deals.
Yeah.
And their brands. I mean, that's understandable. But Oregon State and Washington State don't need to be in the SEC or the Big Ten to be okay. Just get into a viable conference with secure money that's coming in, and they're going to be just fine.
Right. And maybe a conference that can more easily compete with, I mean, they can win games against Arizona State, Arizona, Cal, Stanford. They can win those games. Yeah. Maybe it might even be a 2-division league where they'd be in with the Western teams, and they can compete with them.
Well, do you think Cal and Stanford would eventually go to the Big 12?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Assuming that the ACC continues to disband.
Right.
Because if they lose Florida State and Clemson, they screwed.
And if Washington State and Oregon State are in, it makes more sense. Now you have teams out here in the West, you cut your travel down again, which is really what you need to do.
Well, I think this would be better if you could find a way to get the ACC and the Pac-12 or the Pac-2. And then you eventually have 3 super conferences between the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12. And then all of a sudden, the landscape would start to take the shape that we expect. Yeah. And I think that'd be better at least for the schools who have less resources to work with. Mm-hmm. Scheduling would be a lot easier. I would say this is a more viable option than trying to perform a reverse merger or one of these other ideas out there to try and build a viable conference.
Yeah, and if you wanted to, you could change the name of the conference, which I would be in favor. If you took all those schools in, quit calling it the Big 12. It's not 12 anymore. Call it the Big 16 or whatever you want to call it. It just seems silly to me for all these conferences to say
I think
the
they
same
will.
number.
Once they start bringing in the corporate sponsors, I think you're going to see the conferences change names. Remember, we know about that. Because you were asking, how much money do they need? We start sponsoring the conferences, so it's going to be the so-and-so conference presented by whatever company.
Yeah.
That's coming too. All right, when we come back, one thing for certain with international competition, the NBA players may have to change their tactics. We'll tell you what that means next here on the Rip City Drive. All right, it's 4 o'clock. Chat here. What's up, my friends? Trailblazers will kick off their Summer League action Saturday. 6 o'clock tip against the Spurs. Game can be seen on ESPN2. First look for Blazer fans at center Donovan Clingan, selected in the first round out of UConn. Elsewhere, Kyle Lowry has announced he's re-signing with the 76ers from the NFL. Jamal Adams has agreed to terms with the Tennessee Titans. The CW Network has announced Bill Belichick will be an analyst on Inside the NFL this season. He will also appear on the Manning Cast on ESPN for Monday Night Football. Mariners have won back-to-back games at the Angels tonight. First pitch at 6:38. Luis Castillo gets the call for Seattle. The M's lead the Astros by 2 games in the West. Coming up at 4:20, we'll talk with Ben Gulliver, Washington Post, and he'll give us his take on his first look at Cooper Flagg. Well, I tell you what, Godfather, I'm excited about this news that was put out by the CW that Bill Belichick will be joining Inside the NFL as an analyst.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's very good news. He's also going to be appearing on the Manning Cast on ESPN on Monday Night Football.
That'll be interesting, too.
Yeah. Maybe he can get his young little piece to hang out with him on the set of the Manning Cast.
Come on now.
I'm just saying. But this is going to be good. You know, this is what I thought would happen, where he is right now on a pathway of recovery to go out there and showcase a different side of him that he's tried so hard to hide for so many years because he got tired of dealing with the press. Now he can go out, he can chum it up with the boys, talk football, show his personality, and hopefully change the way that a lot of these GMs and owners view him right now so he can have a chance to get another job. I think that's what he wants to do, but with his intellect and his charm when he wants to be charming, he's going to be sensational on television.
Yeah, you know, I think he's actually being undersold a little bit. He's good enough. He ought to be on one of the big-time Sunday pregame shows, you know, rather than some of those shows. Look, I'm going to watch
the Manning
him.
Cast isn't big enough for him?
No. Get on the Fox pregame on Sunday with Jimmy Johnson and those guys. That's where you need to be. That's where the audience is.
No, I think putting him in a position to where he can shine the most would be best, showing personality. On those shows, you know, it's very this, and this. Like, they're very cut up, you know, short on time. I don't think that's a position where he can be at his best. But on the Manning Cast, with the way that broadcast works, where he has more time to share his thoughts and have real conversation, I think that's the best way to showcase personality.
Yeah. As long as they're not goofing around too much.
I mean, I realize that those shows are the network shows, but they're not the best shows. I watch them. They're not that good.
Well, I think they'd be that good if he was on them. That's kind of my point. I just hope they don't goof around so much that he needs to transfer information. This guy is a fountain of information, and he's got to have the format to be allowed to pass that on.
Well, that's why he's going to be on the Manning Cast, because they have the time.
Yeah, they got time, but they goof around a lot.
No, they goof around and have fun and show personality, which is what he needs to do. He'll naturally share information because he's so smart when it comes to football, but he's got a great relationship with Peyton and with Eli. He knows him really well, and they're close. So working with people that you have a connection with is a better way to showcase your personality. I just think those network shows are overrated. I watch them, I'm like, yeah, that's the best you got.
I like the Fox one. I do. Because, you know, you got Bradshaw, who's certifiable, and then you got Jimmy Johnson, who's actually not afraid to say stuff, and Howie Long's pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen those guys long enough. Yeah, they're okay. I mean, I've seen them long enough. Get Terry and Jimmy and those guys out of there now. They've been doing it long enough.
The CBS one I don't like at all, but
Yeah, I just don't care. I just want Bill Belichick with the Mannings is what I want. I love the Manning cast. You don't appear to like it that much.
No, I don't.
Hmm.
I watch
That's a bad
it a little
take.
bit.
That is a bad take. You don't like the Manning cast?
Well, it's
crazy?
okay. I'm not saying I dislike it. I'd rather watch.
Because it's not a traditional broadcast. Because you'd rather watch a traditional broadcast.
I would, yeah.
Well, maybe Belichick, since the Manning cast sucks, Belichick will step in there and make it better. Then
he might. I'll certainly give him a chance.
I'm surprised you would say that. You surprise me sometimes because you're willing, as an older gentleman, you're open to change.
I am.
I would think that you'd be open to something that's not a traditional broadcast like the Mannings.
No, I like the Manning cast. I just feel like I'm missing something if I'm not watching the traditional broadcast.
I guess I don't know. I've watched it both ways. I like the Manning cast because when they bring guys on and the questions that they ask them and the guys that they have on, like when they were talking shop with Tom Brady, it was amazing. Obviously Patrick Mahomes, because they're talking shop with him, talking football stuff, and they're sharing things that I would have never thought of before. Now I do like Buck and Aikman a lot. I think those guys are terrific, absolutely terrific. So, anyways, we obviously disagree on that. I just think Belichick, no matter where they put him on any show you want, and he's going to shine because he's that good. He's one of those guys where he's an a-hole by purpose, or he can be charming by purpose. That stuff that you saw in the media that's just him doing that on purpose because he can.
Well, I know.
Being a bully and being grumpy all the time.
Well,
I just don't understand. It's like you win that many championships, but just smile occasionally, or no? You're just going to be a grump.
Well, I just thought that draft night show he was on with McAfee, that's the best draft night show I've ever seen.
Yeah, but that's not a traditional broadcast.
Unbelievable.
You like that, but it's not traditional.
Well, yeah, but it's not a game. I'm talking about watching games. I like watching the traditional broadcast. The draft shows are terrible for most of the time. But when you have a guy on there with his knowledge of all these players, and then on top of that, have a guy who does Mel Kiper impersonations who's hilarious, that was worth watching for me.
But didn't you think that showcased Bill's ability to, like a chameleon, he was able to blend in with a wild show. Like McAfee's a different type of show. Non-traditional. They're crazy, but he blended in perfectly like he fit.
Right. And they had the good sense to just step back and let him do his thing. They did. I mean, he got a lot of time.
And Bill let them do their thing. Like he didn't seem to be bothered by it. He seemed to be entertained by McAfee and their craziness.
He laughed at it. Yeah, he did. I don't know if it was fake or real, but he did laugh at it.
But why does he? So I don't understand it. Like he's got this side of him that's terrific. So why does he choose to be an a-hole as a head coach for so long?
Yeah,
why is that?
He just got tired of the media asking stupid questions. Which, I mean, most of them are not stupid questions, but for a guy like him, he thinks they're stupid questions. And I think it was a game to him. It was just one big game where he wasn't going to give him any information, and they're trying to invent new ways to ask questions to get him to say something. And it was like, no, I'm smarter than you. I'm not going to give you what you're looking for.
He wasn't even shaking his owner's hand when they'd walk down the hallway and pass each other in the facility.
Well, he got bitter. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. The longer he stayed there, the more he was kind of fed up, don't you think? And they were fed up with him, it sounded like.
Yeah, well, he got fed up because he cheated and he got caught and he couldn't understand why people wanted to ask him questions about it.
Well,
it's just weird to me.
I would like to see him put out a documentary the way Kraft put out his documentary so we could see Bill's side of the story a little bit.
Yeah, that would not be good for his recovery method right now.
Yeah.
Because his documentary would be very bitter.
Maybe, yeah. There's probably his side of the story, though, that would make Robert Kraft not look so good.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, you could probably tell every story that might make an owner look somewhat not so good.
Yeah,
those
I'm
guys
sure.
are, a little bit different, so to speak. My guess is billionaires, you were talking about guys who have upset the apple cart or tick off a few people. Owners have probably stepped on a few toes along the way, I would guess.
Well, I doubt that he's the only owner who's ever gone to a massage parlor, as far as that goes.
Talking about the rub and tug?
Yes.
Yeah. The amazing part is that a billionaire got caught on tape doing that.
I know.
What are you doing, buddy? Come on,
he
Kraft.
probably travels with security, too. And usually those guys are.
You would just expect a billionaire to be a little more on top of his game walking into an establishment like that. That's all.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, you got caught on tape? How does that happen?
I know.
And why don't you just
Order
bring the parlor to you? You know?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Order it to go, for crying out loud. Order it on Grubhub or something. Why do you need to go there?
Grubhub. Hey, do you guys have this? No, we don't have that. Well, I need that. Can you bring it over, please?
Yeah, well, he's got enough money. He can pay the extra charge, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then you keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to ask you about this. What do you think about NBA players? How difficult of an adjustment will it be in international competition? They're used to whining and complaining and faking it out there. They do a lot of faking, whining, complaining, faking contact, falling down on three-point shots because they're trying to draw the whistle. How do you think the FIBA officials will react to the shenanigans from NBA players?
Hopefully they don't buy into it. And it looked in the game last night as if they weren't going to buy into it. They resisted a lot of that flailing around and falling down and all that garbage. And they let a lot more stuff go. But then at the same time, you can't pull that Joel Embiid stuff where you just bust a guy and then think you can get away with it. And then you get caught. You can read his lips saying, I'm just trying to be physical. And the two guys on the other team look at him like, what? What are you talking about? You just hit a guy right in the belly, man, hard. You think you're going to get away with that? No, you're not.
Why do you think he did that? Was he just irritated? Or was
He's trying in his own way to be physical, but he did not have a good game, by the way. I would not be surprised if by the end of this thing he's not starting, because it's not like you don't have other options there. You could certainly use AD in the middle.
How do you think the international game fits Embiid's skill set?
Well, it should fit him pretty well. I mean, it should. He's a three-point shooter, and the line's a little closer. He can mix it up inside. You know, he's a rough and tumble guy. I was just a little surprised he chose to play for the U.S.
Why did that surprise you?
Well, because he's not a U.S. guy.
I know, but he chose the best country to play for.
Yeah, I know.
What's wrong with that?
That's almost like a LeBron move. You know, go play for your country, man. That's where you're from. They'd be proud of you for playing. You're probably not going to win, but, you know, you.
But what if you identify as being an American and you want to play for the U.S.?
Maybe he does.
I'm not going to begrudge someone for wanting to play for Team USA. I think it's cool. I get mad when some of our own guys go to play for their, natural, origin countries. It irritates me.
Yeah.
It's like you're in the U.S.
A guy
now.
like Klay Thompson, he's not going to get chosen for the U.S. team. He wants to play, so he plays for Bahamas.
Yeah, but that's bullcrap because he's not. He's grown up his entire life in the States. I'm as much from the Bahamas as he is. I mean, come on, man.
No, his dad's Bahamian.
Yeah, but so what? He's not. He spent all his time here.
Yeah, they got some funky rules on how you can choose to be a
it's just weird to
citizen.
That's why I respect Embiid. It's like, dude, you're an American. You can go play for us. These guys want to show up and go play. Maybe some of these guys want to go play for a different country so they can get more playing time.
So
or
you're
whatever.
saying if a guy grows up in America and goes to play for another country, that's no good. You don't like it. But if a guy grows up in some other country and wants to play here, that's okay.
No, what I'm saying is that if you grow up in this country, you should play for our team. But if you grow up in a different country, like if you grew up in Canada, you want to go play for Team Canada, even though if the U.S. is your home now, then go play for Canada. That's fine. But don't be Klay Thompson and grow up in the U.S. and then say, yeah, I'm going to go over here and play. Because like you said, he's probably doing it just so he can have a chance to play in international competition. Weak move. I don't like it. That's all.
Okay.
Because I want our team to have the best players, And I don't want Canada to win
Are
the
you
Olympics.
really invested in the U.S. winning this thing?
I'm invested in the U.S. winning everything.
Are you?
Yeah. The problem is with the USA basketball, the Americans stand to gain nothing because they're expected to win.
Yeah.
So the pressure is not screwing it up.
Yeah, well, you're going to get mad at me, but I don't have any particular nationalistic feel about the Olympics. And, yeah, I'd like to see our country win. I'm always pulling for the American guys in golf tournaments and tennis tournaments and everything else. The Olympics are a little different for me. I kind of root for the stories, kind of root for the underdog once in a while. And I think it'd be kind of interesting to see U.S. basketball knocked off by one of these smaller countries.
My favorite Olympian of all time is Nadia, and she wasn't from. I think she's from Romania, but I love her story.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal. I like the stories. The stories are good, but with the basketball, it's like that's our sport, man.
Yeah, I get that.
That's ours. I do like it when we punk Canada, which I always hope that we can punk Canada in the hockey because I know that drives them crazy.
That's the greatest. That is the greatest. And our young players now are starting to beat them in the World Juniors tournament and some of the amateur tournaments and stuff. We're getting better and better. That sport's spreading.
Yeah. I still got a little nationalist in me, you know? It's the era in which I grew up. Ben Gulliver, Benny G from Washington Post going to join us next. Well, Godfather, we've been excited to talk to this guy for a few days now to get his take on Cooper Flagg. He's from the Washington Post. Ben Golliver's back on the show. Ben, it's great to talk with you again. I mean, what's your takeaway on what you've seen recently from Cooper?
Well, first of all, guys, I love that, Obama's at the game last night. LeBron and Steph are connected for an alley-oop, and you guys want to talk Cooper Flagg. That is true. Portland, Oregon, we need some help on the Trailblazers news. That's what that is.
We're focused, man. We're locked in.
Hey, priorities. I totally get it. Who cares about the dream team when you got Cooper Flagg coming to save the Portland Trailblazers? Look, I mean, he was unbelievable. We got to see him in brief stretches of 2 scrimmages this week. He's in Vegas, obviously, playing for this USA Select team, kind of the JV team that gets to go up against the national team and get them prepared for the Olympics. And in the first scrimmage, what he really showed off was good defensive versatility. He's moving his feet. He's about a 6'8", 6'9" forward. So he's moving his feet. He's guarding guys like Drew Holiday and Steph Curry on the perimeter. That's pretty impressive. He had a couple transition dunks, and we know about his athleticism from all the highlight reels that go around. So nothing there was, too nuts, but he obviously looked like he belonged, even though he's 17 years old, and the youngest guy on this USA national team is Anthony Edwards, who's 22. But I'll tell you what, on that second scrimmage, we get in there, and it's just a Cooper Flagg takeover. I mean, this guy has 11 points in probably 3 minutes flat. He drains a three-pointer right in Anthony Davis's eye. He sets it up off the dribble, sort of like Kevin Durant or James Harden or Jason Tatum would. Just drills it in his face. Then he comes flying down the court, jumps over Bam Adebayo, multi-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year type guy, finishes a layup over him through traffic. He's posting up Drew Holiday when he gets a switch, hits a turnaround jumper on him. This is a guy who was in charge of trying to lock down Luka during the finals. And by the way, did I mention he's 17 years old and he skipped his senior year in high school so he can go to Duke next year? I mean, it's just unbelievable, the range of talent that he has. And I think I've been telling people that this week. I think he is the best American high school basketball prospect since Kevin Durant. And depending on what kind of player you want, you could make a case that Cooper is a better prospect than Kevin Durant was. Obviously, Durant was a much better pure scorer. He was taller, longer, so he had those advantages. But Cooper is so polished. He's so well-rounded. He's a two-way impact guy. And to me, the most impressive part, even though he was the most talented guy on his team, even though he was playing with guys 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than him, he played harder than everyone on the court, and he's incredibly intelligent. He's got NBA-level intelligence already in terms of defensive coverages and, making reads if he's seeing, too much help when he's got the ball in his hand. So you add it all up, Duke is going to be must-see TV next year. Not just for you thirsty Blazers fans, but also for everybody across the country. They're going to be front and center all season long.
I'm curious what you think about how far is there a weakness that you see or something he needs to pick up during this year at Duke? What do you see in that regard?
Yeah, there's 2 things that they're going to want to continue to see improvement, maybe 3. So he's been working on his three-point shot very diligently now for 3 years. So once he got down to this Montverde Academy in Florida, it's sort of like the new version of Oak Hill Academy. One of those places where they just, every player on the team is going to be a D1 prospect. So once he got down there, he got really high-level coaching, and they started working on his three-point shot. His mechanics look good. If you compare his shot side by side with Larry Bird, man, it's pretty similar how they kind of shoot it right by their ear, how they place their hands. It's kind of eerie. He grew up in New England, and his parents were Celtics fans, and so he was always taught like the 1986 Celtics. That's the team that everybody should respect for how they were built, and obviously try to carry yourself like Larry Legend. So he kind of shoots the ball a little bit like Larry from a form standpoint, but he's been working on that. So that'd be one area of development. The second has been his ball handling, and it's definitely coming along as well. He's not the world's biggest creator off the dribble for himself. He much prefers to pick and choose his spots. He's a really good shooter from kind of any distance. So he'll take mid-range shots, he'll score around the basket, he'll hit the glass and get some putback stuff. But in terms of creating off the dribble for himself, I think that's going to really be the next evolution for him. And that's pretty similar to what we were saying about Jason Tatum when he was young and coming into the league. And Cooper really patterns himself after Jason Tatum, and that's why he's going to Duke, or at least one of the reasons why. And then I think the third thing that we're going to want to see, it goes along with the ball handling, and we just didn't see it here in Las Vegas. The rim attacks in the half court, like going downhill and trying to, dunk over people. We just really didn't see a lot of that. But remember, he's going up against Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo. These are players who get to just camp in the paint because they're playing with international rules. There's no defensive 3 seconds. So it's kind of asking a lot for anybody to kind of drive into the teeth of that defense and finish over the top of people. So that's one thing I'm going to be looking for at Duke when he's going against college athletes, not pro athletes. Is he able to just beat his guy off the dribble and dunk over the top of him? That's something we saw Zion do a lot when he was at Duke, and obviously his career didn't go quite like we expected. But that's one area you're going to want to see Cooper be a little bit more aggressive off the dribble because he loves to pass the basketball. He's very unselfish. He doesn't have Jokic level or LeBron like vision. He's not a passer like that, but he makes the right play consistently. He wants to keep his teammates involved. And there's sometimes you would almost say he's like being too unselfish.
We're talking with Ben Golliver, Washington Post. Hey, Ben, what's the competition like for Portland? How many teams are going to get in early on the tank game?
Well, I knew there was going to be a bunch before this week. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some more after what he did in the gym, man. It's crazy. Like, honestly, think about this. LeBron's 39. Steph and KD are in their late 30s. These guys are such big stars. They got 200 people over at the Bellagio camped out just trying to get pictures and selfies with those guys because, they just got those kinds of diehard level fans. And when we're coming out of that scrimmage the other day, the only person anybody wanted to talk about was the youngest guy in the gym. It's nuts, man. It's crazy. And I think if you're a team where you're trying to make a decision, can we be bad enough to hop into this mix? I would advise all GMs do it, because the lottery odds being flat, you don't have to be one of the very worst teams. Even if you're like a bottom 6, bottom 7 team, you're going to give yourself a chance. And he's going to be the kind of player who could turn around a losing organization with his personality. He's such a mature kid. He's going to be a leader on the court. He's one of the loudest voices on defense, calling out coverages, and he's obsessed with winning. I mean, that's why he was going so nuts in that scrimmage. His team was losing, and he wanted to win the scrimmage, and he came pretty close. They got it right down to a last-second shot. They were one basket away from beating the Dream Team, and that would have been real embarrassing for all those guys if they had lost to a 17-year-old. Can you imagine? So I think you're going to see teams like Portland. Obviously, Washington is going to be in that mix. Detroit, they just don't know what they're doing, so they're going to back into that mix no matter what. I wouldn't be surprised if Charlotte found itself in that mix again. One team to circle would be the Utah Jazz because they've been talking about Lauri Markkanen trades. And if they trade Lauri Markkanen, they're going to be bad. I mean, they got a bunch of young guys there who, like Keontae George, he's not going to be leading a winning team anytime soon. It's sort of like giving the car keys to Scoot Henderson. Like, the deal, right? Like, there's going to be some growing pains. And I saw Danny Ainge out there at Lake Oswego scouting Cooper Flagg. I know how much Danny Ainge liked Kevin Durant. Remember, he got fined for tampering with Kevin Durant before the draft in 2007. And we know Danny Ainge loved Jason Tatum because he drafted him and got wound up paying off with a title like 10 years later. I just think Cooper Flagg could be the exact kind of player Danny would want to build around. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all if Utah is one of those teams that hops into the mix here and tries to get real bad real soon. The one team I don't think that's going to be going for Cooper, though, it's the San Antonio Spurs, because I think you look at their moves, getting Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, they're trying to be a little bit more respectable next year. And I think with Wemby, he's going to take a massive year 2 jump. They really held him back last year in terms of his minutes and his opportunities. They just wanted to kind of get him acclimated in the NBA. I think the Spurs could be a team that makes the play-in tournament in the Western Conference. So I don't think they will be factors for Cooper.
Ben, I had an NBA guy tell me the other day that he thought the tanking would start on opening night. And I know what he's saying. This is a year where I don't think can you get to the All-Star break and say, well, we're not playing well, now we're going to tank. I think you're going to have to take it pretty seriously. Do you have any idea what it would take to be in the bottom 3? I mean, in terms of wins, how bad do you have to be this time?
That's a great question. Well, let me ask you, Dwight, are the Blazers waiting till opening night, or are they on track right now? I mean, what are we talking about? It's like,
Ben, don't you think they would need to move a couple of those veterans on their team, or they're in danger of winning more games than they need to win?
Possibly, but they got a stealth tank commander with Scoot. I mean, Scoot's got a long way to go. So you could just play him a lot of minutes, and it was sort of that same thing with Russell Westbrook when he was young. You just play him a ton of minutes, you live with all the turnovers, and then you show up and you get a draft pick to grab James Harden, right? Like, that's a pretty tried and true way to do it. And I do think Portland could still be in the mix to try to trade some of those guys. We'll just kind of have to wait to see how it plays out. But I think if you want to be one of the worst teams in the league this year, you got to be under 20, probably right around 18. Just because I forgot to mention Brooklyn. I mean, they're going to be terrible after, trading Bridges. That's another team that's just not going to be good at all. They're going to be in the mix for Cooper, too. I think they tried to trade to get their own pick back so that they could really go all out trying to lose. There's going to be some real competition, no doubt. The good thing for the Blazers, though, is, the Western Conference is much tougher than the Eastern Conference, as always. It's going to be hard to find wins next year, so this could just happen organically for Portland. Like I said, I think San Antonio is going to be trying to win. Houston's going to be trying to win. Memphis is going to be way better because they're getting Ja Morant back. Pretty much every team in the playoff picture is still going to be trying to be a play-in team in the West. I mean, the Clippers lose Paul George, but they're still making moves that indicate they're trying to win. So I think, in the West, I could easily see it coming down to Portland and Utah as the bottom two seeds.
We're talking with Ben Golliver, Washington Post, here on the Rip City Drive. What's next for the Lakers? Will they make a move? Will they stand pat? Do you think Rob Pelinka could be interested in dealing draft assets to bring in another player? How do you see that playing out?
Well, you said what's next for the Lakers or what's first for the Lakers? Because they haven't done a damn thing the whole summer. All they did was pay LeBron and pay LeBron's kid. Oh, yeah, and his podcast host. What else did they do? It was the only money they spent. Can you imagine, covering a team like that? Sometimes you just pinch yourself with the Lakers and you're like, wow, they really did it. They really hired their best player's podcast host and signed his son to a fully guaranteed contract as a second-round pick, and they're building the whole thing around these guys. Man, it just feels surreal sometimes. They're so close to that second apron when it comes to the salary cap stuff. They have to be real careful. I'm not sure they're going to be able to make any big signings. It's probably going to have to come by trade. And, they have been preaching the continuity thing these last couple of years because they're still burned and shaped by that Russell Westbrook trade. It went so badly. They're still scared to make moves 3 years later. It's like, oh, God, we don't want to do anything that was as bad as that Westbrook trade. So I wouldn't be surprised if they keep the same group kind of going forward. And to me, they're a team that's probably going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And I don't think it's about that so much with them anymore. I think they've reached the point, Dwight, you might like this one. Back in the day, you were selling wins or you were selling hope, right?
Yeah.
And I think these days, you're selling content. And I think they're selling website clicks and TV views and all that. I mean, I think that's sort of the priority for this group. I'm not sure the wins matter and certainly hope. I mean, you got a 40-year-old centerpiece. It's not about the long-term plan there in LA. It's obviously about father and son getting to play side by side. I think that's going to be a really cool story when it happens. I do feel a little bit bad for Bronny because you guys won't believe it down here in Las Vegas. You step off the airplane, the billboards have the number 2 pick, Alex Sarr, and so you'd think they'd have next to him the number 1 pick, right? They don't. It's a big picture of Bronny front and center next to Wembanyama on the Summer League billboards, So, they got this guy who's averaged 4 points a game in college as a freshman, and he's the face of NBA Summer League. That's a lot of pressure. He didn't really ask for it. So much is just coming because of who his dad is. Tough spot for anyone to be in, but he's got his head on his shoulders. And when they do have that big moment playing as father and son on the court, I think it's going to be real special. But to try to get there, man, it's going to be a long road.
Ben, you've seen a couple of games down there. He's played a couple of games. What do you think of him and his chances? How good a player is he going to be?
Well, it's tricky because he wouldn't have gotten drafted if it wasn't for his name, right? I mean, that obviously, and the connections obviously got him drafted. He does all the little things pretty well. The problem is he doesn't do the big things well, right?
Tough.
So he's it's tricky, Dwight, because like normally for a kid like him, you'd say go back to college for 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. Get your game built up a little bit because he's a locked-in defensive player, so he can guard ones and twos. That's about it. He's smart. He's a pretty good catch and shoot 3-point shooter, even though he doesn't have great numbers on that. You can trust him to take those shots. And I think he's really coachable, really friendly. His teammates like him. He's really mature. The problem is he's not really an attack guy off the dribble. He's not going to get downhill. He's got some decent athleticism, but he doesn't have a bunch of size. So you kind of add those things up and you say, well, I don't know where this is going to go for him,
How about this one? Derek White, Jaylen Brown. What do you think?
Well, it's pretty interesting that Derek White was bringing up the Nike angle. Jaylen Brown was bringing up the Nike angle, wasn't it? Because remember a couple of years ago, he was really calling out Phil Knight by name over their treatment of Kyrie Irving and how they kind of cut ties with him a few years ago. I asked Grant Hill, is there any truth to it? And he gave a pretty long and confusing answer, and everybody was kind of trying to figure out what he was saying. He looked a little bit uncomfortable while he was addressing the topic. But it boiled down to, I think, ultimately fit was what he said. And I think they were looking for another guy who could play off of the stars. They didn't feel like they needed another star. To me, the big mistake, it wasn't, deciding between Derek White or Jaylen Brown. It was taking Kawhi Leonard in the first place. Why did this guy have a spot on the team?
Yeah.
He's never played for USA Basketball before. He's always injured. He was injured during the playoffs. There was actually a press conference here, a small one, a scrum with some reporters. And at the end of it, everybody was in such a great mood and all the players were talking about how it was nice to get a chance to play with each other. LeBron was like, I'm so excited to hang out with Steph. And so he asked Kawhi, like, hey, are you enjoying your time down here and like getting to know your teammates? And he just kind of deadpan said, I'm not here to make any friends. And he stood up from the table and left. So it's like, was he really bought into this whole deal or what? I mean, I just don't know why he was down here. And I think it's best for all parties that, he kind of got sent home. And, hopefully Derek White can show up on time. I mean, he wasn't even here in Vegas. He's going to have to fly to Abu Dhabi to meet the team. I mean, what a crazy set of circumstances.
All right, Ben Golliver, Washington Post here on the Rip City Drive. Ben, a great insight, man. We appreciate it and love the insight on Cooper Flagg. And we're prepared for the tank, man. Let's get it going.
Well, do you have the Capture the Flag T-shirts printed up yet, or what? Because that's a free one for you. Just go ahead, make yourself like $10,000-$15,000 on merchandise. You get a nice vacation out of it.
That's not a bad idea. And Capture the Flag is one of the greatest all-time kid games that you could have ever played. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, what a game! We could talk all day long about the real Capture the Flag, but I'll let you guys go. Thanks, guys.
Dude, thanks, Ben. There's Ben Golliver.
Always excellent.
Well, there you go. Now we know the deal. It's time to start tanking right now.
Yeah, he sold on him, I'll tell you that. That's a lot of praise for a 17-year-old kid.
20 wins is not a good idea.
No. And that means don't start the season off winning 4 out of 5 or something crazy like that, or you're going to have trouble. Because there'll be some nights in this league, Chad, you can't lose that game. Somebody will come in here playing so bad, you're just going to win the game. It happens every year.
It sounds like you're going to need somewhere around 15 wins to secure one of the bottom 3 spots.
Yeah, I originally said 12. I wouldn't take any chances with this.
There could be some long losing streaks in the NBA this year.
Yeah, and some of these vet guys I wouldn't trust them to lose games. I think they have a chance to win games.
Yeah, I can give you a list of guys right now. Jeremy Grant, problem. Anthony Simons, definitely a problem. DeAndre Ayton, Thibault.
Yeah.
They're just a little bit too good for what you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly right. Exactly. Let's just real talk here. What are we doing?
We don't need guys like Matisse hustling around and stealing passes.
Blocking shots and stuff? What are you doing?
DeAndre Ayton going for 25 and 20.
No thanks.
Anthony Simons going 8 of 12 from downtown.
Don't need it.
We don't want it.
Go do it for somebody else.
The Mariners have issues. We'll tell you why.
Oh, really, Chad?
Yeah, they have some issues.
Go out on a limb.
Hey, DePoto, you might want to tune in next.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president.
I told you Shacker was all over the Joe Biden press conference. Now, did you doctor that, or is that legitimate?
No editing. That's what he said. On the day he mixed up the president of Ukraine with Putin.
With Putin, right?
Yeah. He called Zelensky Putin. Now he's calling his vice president Trump. That's our president.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Shep. Big thanks to Ben Golliver. Now, Benny G's the man, Godfather.
Yes, he is. Hits it out of the park every time he comes on. So much information. Delivered confidently.
He's reaching the level of, he's a little too smart for me now.
You know, all these guys that they put on television as insiders, Ben should be one of them. He really... He's underappreciated, underused.
I want to read this to you just to get your take. This is from Mike Burrell. Jared Kelenic owns a higher batting average, slugging percentage, OPS, batting average, on balls in play, line drive percentage, and WRC plus than any Mariner. He's also batting leadoff for a playoff team. The Mariners, meanwhile, are looking for someone a lot like him. I mean, I just don't know how the Mariners, they're not going to be able to hold on with the current lineup they have because they're not getting enough from the middle part of their lineup, Godfather. It's a problem.
Yeah, it's, and for people who don't realize it, Kelenic was a Mariner and a highly touted minor league prospect who a lot of people believe they weren't patient enough with him. And the Braves make a deal and Hornswoggle, the Mariners general manager, and got a pretty good player for almost nothing. And it's sad for the Mariners. I mean, they got Cal Raleigh. He's their power guy, but he strikes out all the time. His batting average is nothing. And they need more punch, more consistency. They're just not – I mean, Julio is just not Julio this year. I don't know what they do. I mean, they need a real injection of offense.
Don't you think that, like, DePoto's got to do something or the fan base is going to they'll go ballistic?
Yeah, he's, sat by and done nothing now for a couple of years. He can't do that anymore. And the big thing is, it's not like their cupboard is bare. They have pitching that they can move. They can move some of those guys and still have good pitching. They just don't seem to want to part with anybody. And it's come to the time where you're going to lose your clubhouse. Those guys in the clubhouse are waiting for you to give them some help. If he doesn't do that, the second half of the season is going to be a real downer for them.
Well, I like the point you've always made where it's like sometimes you make a move to let the guys in the clubhouse know that you're serious.
Yeah, we're helping. We're trying to help you guys. We appreciate what you're doing, and we're going to do – I mean, the Braves won the World Series that year because their GM went out and got 3 outfielders to replace the injured guys, and they win the World Series. He went out and got Soler. He got Soriano, Rosario, and really made some deals for them. I think Duvall came that year. You have to make moves. And if they don't work, they don't work because you're not getting there with what you got now. You might as well roll the dice a little bit.
He's got to do something.
Yeah. Their pitching's too good not to be in the postseason. Because once they get in the postseason with that pitching staff, they got a chance.
That's why they got to do something because their pitching is great.
Yeah, you want to let these seasons go by. The window's open for them a little bit. You don't want to let a season like this go by without trying.
How'd all these buffoons get these great jobs and run teams? Isn't that amazing to you?
Well, it's hard to find these guys. The ones that are really smart. And I think the big thing is if you see the guy's not doing the job, get rid of him. Get somebody else in.
That's my guy JT and Cool in the Gang right there. Do you think he's talking about the Mariners or something else?
This country.
Oh, he's talking about the country? All right, we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, Rob Parker from The Odd Couple. We'll play a little snippet for you, sharing his thoughts on LeBron.
Yeah.
You got the Rip City Drive. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 5 o'clock. Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon. Your Trailblazers are going to be down, kicking off their Summer League action in Vegas Saturday at 6 against the Spurs. You can check it on ESPN2. Our first look at Donovan Clingan. Kyle Lowry has announced he's re-signing with the 76ers. From the NFL, Jamal Adams has agreed to terms with the Tennessee Titans. And the CW Network has announced that Bill Belichick will be an analyst on the Inside the NFL this season. He will also appear on the Manningcast on ESPN for Monday Night Football. The Mariners have won back-to-back games. They're at the Angels tonight down in Los Angeles. First pitch at 6:38. Luis Castillo gets the call for Seattle. M's lead the Astros by 2 games in the AL West. He played the clip. It's embarrassing. You can't do that. I paid the price. Somebody's watching me. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, Rip City Drive. No thanks to you for playing that clip of Biden referring to Zelensky as Putin. That's unbelievable to me.
I'm sorry, folks. It's just unacceptable. That's all I can say. That's unacceptable.
Wow. All right. Exciting day here.
You should have seen the look on Zelensky's face. They showed that on one of these. It's like, huh? What? What did he just do?
It's like if you call LeBron Michael Jordan.
That's never going to happen.
Oh. All right. Big thanks to Big Gulliver. It's cooling off in here in the studio like usual. Looks beautiful outside.
Yeah.
I've been in here for the last several hours. It looks nice outside, though. I'm just hoping the traffic on the way home won't be like it was coming in. It was hideous out there today.
Yeah, good luck with that. Come on.
It was a clown show. It was a clown show. All right, I want to play this for you. Speaking of LeBron, Rob Parker, you're a big fan of Rob Parker, right, from The Odd Couple?
I've known Rob for years. He's really a good guy. He is a nice guy.
Well, he was sounding off in regards to Team USA and the idea of LeBron James being the best player on the team.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true anymore, is it?
Well, I don't think Rob thinks so.
Let's take a listen.
Sean King, I'm here to tell you right now that if LeBron James is the best player on Team USA, you can forget about a gold medal because that ain't happening. LeBron James, if he's your best player, there's something wrong. There's something stinky in Denmark. If I put my finger on it, I'd need to wash it. That's how bad it is. A 40-year-old is the best player on Team USA? He's better than Kevin Durant? He's better than Steph? LeBron James, who can only make the playoffs through the play-in with an Anthony Davis on his squad? That's the guy who's the best player on Team USA? I want Team Sweden. I'm going to pull for Team Sweden.
I'll
out.
say this. Rob,
on USA, I'm out.
The first thing I thought was, okay, Braun took the USA select team to dinner and he paid the tab. Like it had to be something because just from a mindset standpoint, like what is wrong with these young guys? Like to me, these practices should be all about Jason Tatum and Anthony Edwards.
Thank you.
Who's about to assume the mantle as the guy?
Thank you.
This bothers me. This bothers me to no end. Not saying that LeBron's not still a great player, but he wasn't a great player in any of the highlights that are available to the public. He shot a flat-foot brick from three-point in the highlights.
But Sean, can we be real? He doesn't impact winning the way he used to. And I'm going to say this why. I'm going to say why. His numbers are tremendous, but they don't win like that. In the years gone by, if LeBron was averaging the numbers that he put up last year, the Lakers wouldn't be in no play-in. They would be vying for the division title. And they're not in those races anymore. That's why I say it doesn't impact winning his numbers.
I just don't get why you have a good opinion and then you add like this.
All right, there you go. There's Rob Parker. I'm surprised that he was so boisterous because you know that on a national level, that's going to get out.
Yeah.
Clutch is not going to be happy about that type of commentary.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that drives me so crazy about LeBron right now is that we're not getting the real story on him or his son because of the influence and control and power that he and his agency have.
Yeah, I would just tell people, especially with the influence ESPN has today, anything you hear about LeBron or Bronny on ESPN, totally disregard it. I mean, they are pumping that guy up so much. It's just amazing to me. It's amazing. And I don't know if it's an issue of access to him because they see him as a ratings getter, which he still is. I don't know what the reason is, but they are more powerful than that to be bending over for LeBron James all the time.
Why do they do it then? Because they don't want to be cut out of the circle?
Yeah, I would assume that they're afraid of it. They're afraid of it. They love getting those sit-downs with him. They get them all the time.
How did we get to a point where people lose access if they share their opinions? How did it get to that point? It didn't used to be like that, right?
Yeah, it did not. But again, players have a lot more power than they used to. Even without Clutch, that whole influence is a big thing too. But
is it the money? Is it social media? Why do they have more power now?
Well, because the league's giving it to them. Watch the way the PR guys handle things nowadays. They'll come out and say, so-and-so scored 48 points. Well, we need to talk to so-and-so after the game. Well, sorry, he's not talking tonight. What do you mean he's not talking tonight? He scored 48 points. Get him in here. That's the way it used to be. Nowadays, sorry, guys, he ain't here. He left already. He's in the parking lot. Goodbye. You don't get access to players all the time anyway. They decide. It used to be the PR guys had the power to say, here, take my hand. We're going into the media room. You got to talk today. And that was it. The only one that's still doing that is the Golden State Warriors, run by the best PR guy in the league.
So really, that's what it comes down to. The teams and their PR departments have changed the approach. It used to be like, hey, you have to do this. Now it's more of an optional thing, and they protect the players.
And it's not the PR guys. It's that's their marching orders from up above. You look at the access for the Trailblazer practice facility that we used to have compared to now. We used to go in, watch part of practice. When the practice was over, you could go over and bump into any of the players you wanted. Say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Want to do a story on this or whatever? Any of the players were fair game, as long as you got them before they got to the locker room, okay? Now it's, okay, who do you guys want today? They'd bring 2 or 3 players out. That was it.
Yeah.
And you have to stay now in one little corner of the gym. You can't go any further than that. And look, it's not just the Blazers. It's pretty much everybody in the league.
Yeah, so when you're getting a message or some type of story from Clutch or the Lakers, or depending on if it could be a reporter or somebody that is a Clutch agent, then you got to be very suspicious about what you're hearing. It's like, okay, why are you reporting this?
Right.
So no one's going to give you a real story on Bronny. You've got to watch and determine for yourself.
Well, and Chad, you saw all these stories that were coming out a couple of weeks ago about Jordan's Defensive Player of the Year thing. That was an attack on Jordan only to make LeBron look better.
Yeah.
That was the whole meaning behind that whole story.
Yeah, there's a lot of sports debates that, are just time fillers, and I get caught up in them all the time on the golf course or whatever, and, I don't care one way or the other, but the one, like I've told you before, like the one argument, like trying to convince me that somebody else is better than Michael Jordan, like, to me, that's just asinine.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy talk. Like, well, talking about the same guy?
But they're all people who never even saw Jordan play. I mean, for the most part.
I don't know.
Because you really can't understand what Jordan was. It's like Wilt. Unless you saw Wilt, you have no idea. You don't understand what an athlete he was. But, I accept that. That's just the way it is.
What I don't understand is, Like, why does LeBron view it as a negative if he comes out and he's like, yeah, I'm part of the coaching search. I wanted my son on the team, and, these are the guys I wanted to play with. What's wrong with that? Just being honest about what's really going on. Why would you walk away from that? I think it'd be pretty cool to have the type of power that he does and be like, yeah, I've been in the league for 20 years. I've won 4 championships. I'm one of the best players of all time. I have a pretty good idea of what type of coach I want and the type of players I want to play with.
Well,
we spent a second-round pick on my son because I wanted to play with him. So what? It's a second-round pick.
Well, as far as the coaching search is concerned, I think he wants deniability. He wants to be able to deny. He doesn't want to get blamed. If this guy's a flop, I didn't pick this guy. And it gives him the ability next season after, he can talk behind the coach's back and rip him and all the stuff he's done in the past to the reporters who are sympathetic to his cause. He can do that because, heck, I didn't pick this guy. How did we get stuck? What is Pelinka doing hiring a guy like this with no experience, He's perfectly free to do that because he didn't select the guy, according to him.
Why would you try to act like you weren't dead set on having your son selected by the Lakers? Why is that a problem? No one cares if the Lakers use a second-round pick on Bronny.
Well,
why would you walk away from that?
Chad, the story from the Lakers is Bronny earned that. He wants people to think that he's making it on his own.
So he's trying to make it look like his son earned the right to that draft
Which
pick.
is what he should have let his son do, earned your right into the league. But that didn't really happen.
I don't like any of it. I'd rather someone just come out and be honest. I wanted my son drafted, and I told the Lakers to draft him.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's the least they could do. I've been in this league
But there's
long
nothing
enough.
wrong with it. Yeah, I wanted my son drafted. I wanted to play with him. Why? If you come out and say it and you're honest about it, no one's going to really be that freaked out over it.
Yeah, it's just that then Bronny is always going to carry that around. The only reason you got drafted is your father made him draft you.
But he's going to carry it around anyways because we already know that that's the truth. That's the part that's so asinine to me. We know that he picked J.J. Redick. We know that he told the Lakers to draft Bronny. But you're acting like that's not the case. You're just flat out lying about it.
He's believing his own lies.
That could be true, too. Sometimes if you tell a lie long enough, you start to buy into the crap.
That's right.
I know, because I've done it myself.
I'm not gambling anymore. I quit.
Yeah, I'm not really gambling that much anymore.
I don't lose a lot. I just, it's nickel and dime stuff.
Yeah. Just a bet here and there. It's all good.
Yeah.
What? What's the big deal?
Yeah. Everybody does it, right?
Yeah.
That's always the good one. Everybody does it.
Well, that's something we've all used. Human beings are crazy because we will justify any type of questionable activity. We got good way. We can justify just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one is, well, what about him?
Yeah, we blame him.
Whataboutism, they call that.
Whataboutism, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've seen it
You
before.
think I do it. What about Chad? He does it all the time.
That's kind of what Gundy did. He's like, I've been in that situation 1,000 times.
He did it one time. I've done it 1,000 times.
I've drank 3 or 4 beers and driven home 1,000 times. Oh, good for you, Coach. Crazy. But the fact that even J.J. Redick at the press conference had the gall to say that he and LeBron never talked about the job before he was hired is just nonsense.
Nonsense.
To me, that's like you're insulting me. Like I know I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb.
That's poppycock.
It's balderdash. Come on, man.
Balderdash, I think it is. Yeah.
Whatever. Balderdash. You know what I was talking about.
I do.
There's nothing worse than Dwight getting hung up on semantics.
No, it's like.
How do you pronounce it? Balderdash?
Balderdash. It's B-A-L. Unless you're in Colorado.
B-I-L?
B-A-L.
Oh, B-A-L.
Yeah, if you're in Colorado, it's
Boulder.
Balderdash.
Yeah.
That's what Dion says, Balderdash.
Well, in Oklahoma, we make up our own version of the English language, all right? That's what you get down in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You've been down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reading, writing, and arithmetic is all optional. I can speak firsthand. All right, we'll come back. I think we may talk a little music. We'll figure this out. Yeah, this song reminds me of the documentary we both just watched on Herb Alpert, Godfather. That was a good one.
Oh, man. Real good. Yeah.
That guy's a classic overachiever. Musician, artist, sculptor.
Renaissance man.
Yeah. We could just let Herb take the rest of the show if you want to do that, and we can get on the roadway, Godfather.
There you go.
down with that?
Yeah, that's a good way to handle the traffic.
What do you got cracking this weekend?
Nancy's in a golf tournament. I'm going to watch a little bit of that.
At the country club?
Yeah. It's actually the Ladies Chapman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Who is she teaming up with?
It's a member guest.
Oh, member
actually.
guest.
A member guest, yeah.
Very nice.
She has a friend coming in to play with her.
Very nice. I like it. I'm supposed to head up with some of the guys to, I think it's Ocean Park, just above Long Beach in Washington this weekend.
Really?
Yeah. Normally we go camping every weekend, but this time one of the guys, Jordan's got a beach house up there that he normally rents out, but he left the dates open this weekend for us. So the accommodations will be a little more friendly than the tent.
Yeah, see, I'm not a camper.
I'm not either. I do it, but that's just not my style.
No.
I can't picture you camping.
Oh, God. We had to do it as a kid. I wasn't a fan of it. No thanks. No thanks. And I kind of liked fishing. That was the only part of the camping I liked is we get up in the morning and go fishing. That was good. Catch a couple trout and have them for breakfast with a couple eggs. That was okay. But no. Don't like the sleeping bags on the ground and don't like that tent. Always worried about animals popping their head in there.
Yeah, I'm not down with that. Yeah, I used to fish a lot when I was younger in Oklahoma because we had fishing holes everywhere. The pond that was on the land that I lived on, it's like one of my favorite places in the world. There were always fish in the pond, so I could go down there by myself, casting a line with a spooner, and there was a crappie and bass in there, which was nice. I never really enjoyed trout fishing because it's a little more difficult fly fishing.
Yeah.
And then we had Keystone Lake where you could go and find your spots, and you could, they had live bait stores everywhere. So I'd get my minnows, or you could put the jigs on there and, cast out and just hang out until the fish started biting. And then I'd put it in a bucket, and anything I took home, my dad would clean them and my mom would fry it up.
Oh, perfect. You didn't have to do the work.
No, I just bring it home, and my mom's like, whatever you bring home, we can fix for dinner. So we'd do that. And then my brother and I had, we both had weaponry, BB guns. We'd pop bullfrogs, and bullfrogs get pretty big. And I'd drop those in the bucket too, and then my mom would.
Frog's legs?
Frog legs, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, pretty delicious. And then there were a couple of mud holes that we were aware of where you take, you could take string or shoestrings and you just put bacon on there. And you drop it in, you drop it in the mud hole, and then it would take seconds. You drop it in there, and then you pull it out, and the thing was crawling with crawdads.
Yeah, we used to get those out of Johnson Creek down at the park. Yeah, you could do those. Did you ever shoot squirrels and eat them?
I have not. I mean, I have shot squirrels, but I have not eaten them.
People do.
Yeah, but my dad, growing up in Oklahoma, he's done that before.
Oh God. It's like eating a rat.
There's a lot of things that happen in Oklahoma that may not happen elsewhere, yeah. And I'm not joking about that. But no, I've never eaten squirrel. The one bird that I do like, quail, and you can find it on menus at certain restaurants.
That's a delicacy, quail.
Yeah, quail is quite tasty. And there was a lot of quail hunting in Oklahoma. So, my neighbor Jim, he would go out with my dad, and they'd go hunting for quail, and they would bring that back. That was good eats.
How about roadkill? Did you guys ever bring that home?
My dad has done that before. And
they did that in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine doing that, but my dad has done it.
It tastes like motor oil and rubber, Dad.
I was like, no, you didn't do that. He's like, no, we did. And he would lay it out and talk about why they did that and what was going on back then. But back then they didn't think anything of it. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But the one thing I could not do is I'm not a hunter. So I'm not going to go hunt a deer.
Oh, no. I could never shoot a deer.
There's no way in HE double hockey sticks I could pull that one
They're
off.
among the most beautiful animals on earth. They really are.
Yeah, and I love seeing them on the golf course. They're majestic. I like.
Do you get them at Heron Lakes? Are there deer out there?
All the time.
Oh.
Yep. I saw the family out there. One time, it's happened a couple of times, where we're at the par 3. We got to wait for the family to just motor on through. They take their time when they're, looking for eats or whatever. We wait for them to clear out, and then we'll hit. But it was funny because last time we saw the family, mom and dad and brother and sister were up ahead, and the young one, there was like a little young buck, and he was hopping. We talk about guys in the NBA having hops. This
All
deer,
4 legs up off the ground at the same time.
effortless hopping, and within a few strides, he was up there with his family. I was just like, how do you do that? Pretty amazing. So and I've seen the videos before, too, where sometimes, a retriever or whatever will be outside, and all of a sudden he'll bring a buddy up to the door, and before you know it, you got a deer looking for some grub. I wish that Puppy Shots could adjust to maybe having a brother or a sister, but I don't think he would. But it'd be nice to have like a retriever, someone that's bigger that could hang out with Puppy Shots. But I don't think Shots would react well to that because he's been alone all his life and he likes the attention. I don't want to put him in a situation where he's like, hey, well, why aren't you why are you petting that dog?
Yeah. You never rub my tummy anymore.
Yeah. I don't want to do that to him. He might be sad about that. But that was what was great living out in the country. And I think I told you last time I went back, I took pictures and went to that pond, that was on the land that I grew up on.
Yeah, where you fished a little bit, right?
Yeah. It's even more beautiful now than what it used to be.
Really?
Yeah, I got to show you a picture of it because it's truly remarkable. And it's like, I've never thought about this, but I thought about it when I was there. Like, I have decided that when I die, that I want my ashes spread there just because that place is like my happy place. See if I can find you a good photo.
Could you swim in that?
I did.
Well, as a kid, you could swim in anything, I guess.
swam in it as a kid. It's not like there's anything else running off, in that area. So it's like, it's pretty, it's clean as a pond can be. But I don't know if I'd want to, during the summertime, there's snakes down there.
Oh. No, thanks.
So my dad, when I'd go down there during the summertime to go fishing, he was like, hey, we'll watch your back. Because you get down there on the banks of the pond, and you got to watch out because the cottonmouths or the water moccasins.
Oh, gosh. Water moccasins? I'm not swimming there. No, thanks.
That was my take.
I don't even know if I'm fishing in there.
But look at this. This is Oklahoma. Take a good look at this.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's was the
really
pond.
Nice. That's a pond. It almost looks like a river.
Yeah. Well, there was a river that ran into it, but the river was dry most of the time. But during the raining months, the river would fill up. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it is. Beautiful.
Yeah. So
that was on your property?
Yeah.
You guys had a lot of property. Huh?
10 acres.
Wow.
Yeah. 10 acres. And my dad built that house that, I went by to see the house, see what it's looking like.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad built the house. My mom, designed a country house, and my dad laid the foundation and built it.
Gosh. Isn't that funny how people used to be able to do that?
He did. He did everything.
You and I can't build anything.
This is what I was talking about the other day where I feel like a useless, pathetic human because my mom's like, I want a country house. They found the land. They bought the land. My dad poured the foundation. He had some help with, people helping him out.
Sure.
But he did most of the work.
That's the way it was in those days, too, though. You could get people to help you out. Try doing that now. Yeah, I'll help you. $20 an hour, $30 an hour.
No, he had buddies who were.
Sure. Yeah, and he helped them out in return, I'm sure. It's just the way it was. People helped each other.
I haven't really thought about it, but you're right. The community, maybe it's different back then. Maybe it was probably different when you were younger, too. But back then, you're right. It's like there was kind of things that were understood. It's like, hey, I've got your back. You've got my back. That's just kind of the way they roll. But on the cul-de-sac where I grew up on, like, it was pretty amazing. But, my dad, right next to us, my dad's two best friends. Like, we lived in the same cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And to this day, Dick Holloway is his name. He lived in this weird dome house that's still there. I went by and saw it last time I was in Oklahoma. But they're still best friends, and they still communicate all the time.
Wow.
And he's still in good health, and they both worked at the Corps together, at the Corps of Engineers, and they work together, and they still communicate, and they still visit with each other and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see a friendship last that long. And that's why the only time I ever seen my dad cry was when we moved away from Oklahoma. because my mom and dad grew up there. And so when we moved to Colorado as a family, that's the first time my dad had been away. But he was leaving his family and his close friends. And I just remember when we were driving out of Tulsa on our way to Colorado, my dad, he was crying. And it was disturbing because I had never seen that before.
Sure. Well, why did you guys move? Job? Was that the deal? Or
yeah, I think if I recall, this was a long time ago, but I think what it was is, with the Corps of Engineers, my dad would often they would just offer up, hey, we got this position opening up here. We got a position opening up here. He had opportunities to move if he wanted. He didn't have to. But my mom and dad just thought it might be best to give my brother and I a different look at different parts of the country. So the first move was Colorado. My dad's sister, my aunt and uncle lived there. And my mom and dad always thought Colorado was pretty. And so we moved there for a few years. And you mentioned the camping. Like my mom and dad have always been about the outdoors type stuff, the camping, and they love doing that.
Don't they have a trailer or some
fifth
kind of
wheel?
Yeah.
So we go out there and go camping and visit the old mining towns and stuff. And I mean, camping was never my thing, but I enjoy going out there. I guess what I'm trying to say is that my parents took me on a lot of adventures that I wasn't necessarily thrilled about, but I'm glad looking back now that they did because you get a chance to experience different things that I wouldn't have normally chosen myself.
Now, see, if I had one of those big, giant buses or travel-alls, where I had the satellite dish on the roof and the kitchen and the bathroom and the shower, I'm good with that.
If you were in my parents' fifth wheel, you would do that.
That's probably pretty nice. You guys had nice stuff, I bet.
Bedroom, they have nice stuff when we were younger.
Yeah, I know better. Not you,
No. And tell me, raise your hand out there if you've experienced this. Growing up, my dad acted like we have no money. That's just the way he operated, right?
Yeah.
We have no money. Yeah. We're not going to get air conditioning. We can't do this. No new furniture, none of it, right? Well, it's funny how as we got older, moved out, all of a sudden, grandkids, now all of a sudden they get everything.
Yeah.
We got a fifth wheel, air conditioning. The price that Isaac gets paid to mow the same lawn that I mowed is substantially more. Money bags now.
Nice vacations.
Yeah, nice vacations. Yeah. Funny how that works.
But see, my parents were older than yours.
Yeah.
Matt, they lived through the Depression.
Yeah.
And we're kids. They weren't adults then. But
when you say Depression, I don't think the young ones today maybe understand.
Oh, my God.
The scars, the deep scars that come from that.
You're absolutely right, Chad. It's like you must know somebody who has gone through it because you hear stories of like, oh, my gosh, people lived through those days of
my Nana.
Horrible.
Yeah, and now I know after talking with my Nana, but when I told you I recorded a lot of those conversations with Nana before she passed, she told me some detailed stories about the Depression. And my Nana grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, right? Poor, dirt poor.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, 8 kids, and they lived in a shack.
Yeah, my mom and dad both came from families of 8 or 9 kids.
Yes, and so she said that the state would come by and drop off like commodities for them, like wheat, flour, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she had to have these coupons to get books at school, and she was ashamed because the other kids knew she was poor. But she said that there was one bed in their room in the shack where all the kids slept in the same bed. And she said the problem is you had the older kids and the younger kids. Well, the younger kids would wet the bed.
Oh.
And, of course, the mattress, she said the mattress, over time it starts to rot out. So they would put, like socks or different things to fill the holes in the mattress.
Oh, my.
Because they don't have the money to go out and buy a new one.
Yeah.
Water in a bucket, that you would use a ladle to get, if you were thirsty, to drink out of the ladle. And she said during the wintertime, it would get really cold in there. So the top layer of the water bucket would freeze up. So you'd have to crack it to get the water out. And now I understand why when she was going to the store, even later in life when she had money, she would go to 5 different stores if she had 5 different coupons at 5 different stores to save the pennies that she would save. Or she would take those little sandwich bags and reuse them, right? And those are the ones that cost like half a penny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the scarring from what she grew up with, having nothing, was so deep that she never ridded herself of that.
Yeah. My parents were the same way. My dad had a paper route from the time he was old enough to ride a bike just to help the family. And he had it all the way through high school.
To help out mom and dad.
Yeah. He had it all the way through high school. Here's the story. He had it all the way through high school, saved his money. Actually, his father said, put it in the bank, and then you'll have some money when you get out of high school. There was never any talk about going to college. It was like, you'll have money when you get out because, nobody went to college in his family. But he got out of college. He had a chance to go for a tryout in the Northwest League for baseball. He was a good high school baseball player. But he had to get there. He had to drive the family car to, I think, Yakima or somewhere like that. He grew up in Pasco, and he went to get the money out of the bank. It was gone. His dad had taken it. They needed it for the family.
Wow.
It was never there, so he never got the tryout. He joined the Civilian Conservation Corps at that time, the CCC, which the government had set up. I think Franklin Roosevelt set that up, to help kids. They paid them to do work in the mountains and in the city, clean up. It was a good government program. And then he went in the service. That's what he had to do. Got a job working for the railroad. Worked for the railroad for about 50 years. Long time. Worked there long enough to where the pay was good. It was a good job. My brother and I didn't want for too much. If I needed a new baseball glove, it's like, get in the car. We're going down to Basher's. We'll buy
take care
your glove.
of you.
Yeah.
Hey, Basher's, did I meet someone from the family of Basher's out at the country club?
Yeah, Driggers, Joe Driggers and Bonnie. They ran Basher's for quite a while. Owned it. I think their daughter does now.
I remember we had a local store like that in just outside of Tulsa where you would go to get your uniforms and your baseball stuff, and it was a specialty shop.
Fun place to go for a kid, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the scars from the Depression run real deep.
Yeah. You didn't throw anything away. I know that growing up. If you threw it away, you better check with Mom first, because it's like those sandwich bags. Yeah, use them again. Nothing wrong with it. Use it again.
Why are you throwing that away?
Yeah.
She would look at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why are you throwing that away?
And leftovers,
Ate
they
everything.
were not to be thrown out either. You better eat them.
But now I see why, because my dad has picked up. He was influenced by it because of her habits and my papa's habits, right?
Yeah.
Funny how that works. But I have a friend that works at the railroad, and he's made a very good career for himself.
Yeah.
That's hard work. They do some hard work, too.
Oh, yeah.
Long trips, too, out to Pasco and stuff.
Yeah, it depends on which company you work for. He worked for the Southern Pacific, eventually got with Amtrak and did the passenger trains all the way to Klamath Falls. My brother and I used to go along once in a while. Those stories of what Klamath Falls was like in those days. Oh, goodness. People were still wearing guns and holsters. Cowboy hats. Seriously.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I used to see Rattlesnake Pete. He was the local kind of cowboy, and he'd come down this full cowboy regalia.
He administered justice.
2 6-shooters. No, he just told a lot of stories. But, yeah.
I'm going to do. I think I want to do that. I'm going to start rocking a couple of 6-shooters. That's awesome.
You could do that. You could do that now. You don't even need a permit if it's not concealed, right?
Yeah. I'm going to do it. I think I need a holster. I've always loved holsters ever since I was little, man. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Then you work on your quick draw. Right?
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom, you're dead.
And then you got to fan the trigger, like they used to do. Wild Bill Hickok. Bam, bam,
Boom,
bam,
boom,
bam.
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Of course, nowadays that would be considered probably insensitive, and someone would have to go find a safe place because I have 6-shooters.
That's exactly right. And see, I grew up with there was a lot of cowboy shows on TV when I grew up. There's no cowboy shows on now, but there used to be.
You got that clip of Biden calling Trump his VP? I got to hear that again. I don't believe it happened. This didn't happen. There's no way. I think Shacker's pulling my chain on this one. He was jive talking.
Yeah, you should find the poop.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president.
Which is worse, him saying that or him calling Zelensky Putin?
I think the Putin one's worse.
Shacker, which one do you think is worse?
Well, Fox News is loving both of them, so they're both bad.
So what do you want? Do you want them to? Do you want Biden to stay in, or do you want him to be replaced?
I want the elderly to get out of politics.
Good luck with
Ageism. Hey, there's nobody young in politics anymore on the national level.
And it's horrible.
Oh, yeah, I like this song. This one makes me want to shake my booty a little bit, Shacker.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president.
How do you? I mean, there are
No, but
mistakes.
that would be great. Biden as president, Trump as VP. That's the entertainment I'm here for.
But, you can make mistakes, but you can't make a mistake like that or calling Zelensky President Putin.
Yeah, but politicians do this type of nonsense all the time. Crazy. You have to admit the ruling class is crazy, Godfather.
Always has been, really, probably.
Both sides, crazy.
Well, the kind of ego it takes to get elected to an office like that. You wonder why, we can't convince him that he's not,
ego.
Yeah. Pride.
As I say, doing it like the Discovery Channel? I don't even know what that means.
Like mammals on the Discovery Channel.
Sounds like fun.
Okay.
All right, I was informed by Shacker that you want a quickie or have a quickie.
Yeah, I got one I like to add. But I like to hand out a rest in peace to Redbox. They recently filed for bankruptcy. Now all those Redbox kiosks where you get movies and DVDs, Blu-rays, and video games are all going to shut down. We're going to miss you after 22 years.
Rest in peace.
But who uses DVDs anymore? Does anybody use those?
Did you like Redbox?
I used it like once. I had to think really hard. 2012, when the new James Bond movie came out, I used it. So I haven't used it in 12 years. I think I had late charges, too.
I love James Bond.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, Bond is awesome. But you're right. Who uses a DVD? What a pain in the ass that is.
Do you even have a DVD player? I don't. I don't have a VCR either.
Yeah, I just donated a Blu-ray player to Goodwill.
No.
Because I wasn't using it.
I went and bought a VCR at Goodwill.
Just to have one for your old...
Yeah, all my old sporting events.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that. But no, I have no DVD player. I don't need it. Because
Rest in peace.
Are you playing that for Biden or for the DVD player?
No, we'll save that.
Shacker's distraught right now. He's distraught over the whole situation. Yeah, I'm not pulling out a DVD. I'm not doing that. It's amazing to think what the hassles that we used to have to go through to watch a film at home.
Yeah.
I walked into stores, they had one half beta, one half VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't have a VCR, you could rent one and take it home and try to figure out how to set it up on your television.
I had both. I had the VHS and the beta. I loved the beta. The betas were really a good machine. They just didn't catch on.
I remember the guy's name. His name was Clarence. He's the one that gave me Charlie before my dad took him on a long walk.
Yeah.
A very sad walk, too. It's very sad. Anyways, he had one of those. You remember the laser disc? It was like I watching Star Wars at his crib as a youngster on the laser disc was a mind-blowing experience. That was good. But the laser disc was like the size of an album. It was a monster.
Mm-hmm. We had all of those phases that we had to go through to get to the whole streaming thing.
I know. The streaming thing is much better.
Yeah.
I mean, in my early days, I started out with an 8-track tape in my dad's truck. Thought that was dope. Then I got the record player / cassette player / 8-track player in my room, the stereo. That was amazing. And then my cousin Darren got the CD player. That was mind-blowing.
Now you're all the way back to vinyl records again.
Now I'm playing vinyl again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pull out a cassette.
You talk about DVDs and all that stuff. When I was growing up in high school, there were people in our neighborhood, just a couple. We didn't live in a rich neighborhood, but it was close to us. They had home theaters. What do you suppose they watched in home theaters?
Top Gun.
Hey, Top Gun. This is way before that.
Give me the decade and I'll try to guess.
60s. What did you watch?
Bond.
No, but you couldn't watch those. What did you watch them on? How did you watch them?
Public broadcasting.
Oh, no. You had to go and get the actual film that the theaters were showing. That was the only way to do it.
Oh, there's no way to do it at home.
Yeah. So you had the big projector and all that stuff. And these are rich people. I'm sure they had to pay probably what the theaters paid.
All right, Shackers. How's Zelensky doing? Is he okay?
You mean Biden? It's bedtime. It's past 8 o'clock on the East Coast. He's done.
All right. Big thanks to all of you. We'll be back tomorrow. Big thanks to Ben Golliver. Rip City Mornings with Chris Burkhardt at 6. And the Rip City Drive at 3. See ya!
See you tomorrow, Chad.